Welcome to this episode of our program, Daily Debate. As usual, we will be speaking about an important Egyptian file. Today we'll be speaking about Egypt's diplomacy or Egypt's foreign diplomacy. Egypt has constant diplomacy, and out of those principles and values, our diplomacy is or has been always conducting. Today, we have seen, or throughout the past few days, we've seen some of the important visits, particularly that of the top diplomat, our top diplomat, to Syria and Turkey, where he extended Egypt's support to the brother countries, particularly Syria, and to Turkey, and a message of solidarity with the peoples of both nations. And that definitely has happened after the catastrophic earthquake that hit both countries. On the international level, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has already received a phone call from the Ukrainian president on the latest developments in Ukraine, and has already confirmed Egypt's support for all efforts aimed at calming the situation. Also, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry received the Ambassador Barbara Lev, Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs, and Brett McGurk, Coordinator of the U.S. National Security Council for Middle East and North Africa. Tonight, we'll be focusing on Egypt's diplomacy, Egypt's foreign policy towards many of the international and regional issues. Before we delve into our discussion, let's first have a quick look on the top stories of the day. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received on Monday a video call from Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. During the call, President Sisi and Malaysian Prime Minister discussed means of boosting joint cooperation between the two countries in light of historic ties binding the two countries. The call also tackled efforts of cooperation in the fields of culture, tourism, and education. This, in addition to enhancing economic relations, trade exchange, and increasing joint investment in the fields of energy, communication, information technology, auto manufacturing, and other fields. Visions were also exchanged on most prominent regional and international issues of mutual concern, means of achieving security and stability in the Middle East, and on the international level in light of what the world is witnessing of great challenges. Both also stressed the importance of continuing coordination in the international arenas in dealing with different issues, among them combating terrorism and extremism on all levels. On his part, Malaysian Prime Minister hailed Egypt's role in the field of combating terrorism, appreciating the great value of Al-Azhar and Islamic institutions in Egypt and the leading role. Also on Monday, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi witnessed the tests for job applicants to the Public Transportation Authority in cooperation with the Egyptian Military Academy to boost efforts of choosing the best cadres. President Sisi stressed the state's keenness on following the highest scientific, technical, psychological and health criteria for selecting the best applicants and for preparing and qualifying them at all levels according to the latest programs. The President pointed out to current challenges facing the country in the matter, which he said needs to new generations of human capital at high level of efficiency within the framework of the state's plan for achieving comprehensive development in all fields. Moving on to our third top story of the episode, in Qatari Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani on Monday met with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, who is leading a high-level delegation on a visit to Qatar. Madbouli's official visit is made upon an invitation from the Qatari Prime Minister Khalid bin Khalifa bin Abdul Aziz. The visit is part of keenness by both countries to enhance bilateral relations. And Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli also held talks with the Qatari counterpart Khalifa bin Abdulaziz Al Thani over boosting cooperation between Egypt and Qatar in all fields. The Prime Minister is accompanied by a delegation comprising the Minister of Planning and Economic Development as well as Ministers of Health, Finance, Trade and Industry, together with the head of the Suez Canal Economic Authority. The delegation is also scheduled to hold meetings with representatives of Qatari Businessmen Association as well as Qatari Trade and Industry Chamber. These meetings will discuss available opportunities to increase Qatari investments in Egypt and to double the volume of trade exchange between both countries. Ahead of Prime Minister Madbouli's talks with his Qatari counterpart, an official reception ceremony was delivered to the Prime Minister at the premises of the Qatari cabinet in Doha. Now we move on to our episode in Egypt's diplomacy and foreign policy in the region. And before we delve into our discussion, let's first have a quick report. Egypt plays a pivotal role in the Middle East and globally. Let's watch.
In the first visit by an Egyptian foreign minister since 2011, Sameh Shoukry arrived in Damascus on Monday morning to extend a message of solidarity to the Syrian people after the devastating earthquake earlier this month. Upon his arrival, Shoukry met Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, who thanked Egypt and its great people for hosting Syrian refugees and for treating them like brothers in Egypt. Shoukry also met with his Syrian counterpart, Faisal Miqdad, at the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He conveyed a message of solidarity and support from the government and people of Egypt with their brothers in Syria following the devastating earthquake. During a press conference, Shoukry underlined Egypt's support for the Syrian people, pointing to the 1,500 tons of aid that has been sent since the disaster, and offered assurances of the Egyptian government's willingness to provide more as needed. Shoukry's visit happens to coincide with Speaker of Egypt's House of Representatives Hanafi Gebeli's visit to Damascus upon the resolution of the 34th Conference of the Arab Parliamentary Union, which was held in Baghdad. Gebeli said that the visit comes to show solidarity with the Syrian people and express support after the disastrous earthquake. Later in the day, Foreign Minister Shoukry arrived in Turkey and held a bilateral meeting with his Turkish counterpart, Mevlut Cavusoglu, to affirm solidarity with Turkey and its people. The foreign ministers headed by helicopter to the port of Mersin to receive the 6th shipment of Egyptian aid provided to Turkey. Since the quake took place, Egypt has sent many supply planes and ships carrying hundreds of tons of humanitarian aid to Turkey and Syria in a message of support to both countries. Shortly after the quake, Egypt sent to Syria a rescue team of medical specialists and rescue technicians alongside the medical aid. The Egyptian Red Crescent also launched a donation campaign for Syria's earthquake victims. A day after the disaster, Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi offered his condolences to the victims of the earthquake in a phone call to both Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan.